Should we do quick intros for Cassandra?
Since we're in person, we
Yeah.
did it last time, but let's
Okay.
just go around again once more.
Yeah. I thought maybe we'd do quick intros around the room because Cassandra's here. Hello, welcome.
In person.
In person.
Better this time. So now we'll actually potentially, fingers crossed, remember your names when you tell me who you are.
That's why we have that.
And we also have some guests from the Chamber Collaborative. Hello, so you'll be able to hear who all of us are if you don't know us already. Maybe you'll start online because I always feel if you're online, like people forget. Sometimes at least I do.
Always
But
does.
Catherine, do you want to start us off?
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm a community member. Currently sitting in my car in Boston. Just finished coaching rowing, but yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Nice to meet you.
Great. Sean?
Sean Clancy, City of Portsmouth. I'm Jason Gooder, resident.
Karen Rosanna, artist.
Genevieve Mitchell, artist.
Kim Goldman, artist.
Kate Cook, I'm City Council rep.
Eli Kaner here, representing Portsmouth Music and Arts Center, but also a cellist and a resident.
I'm Jeffrey Cooper. I'm a local artist.
I'm Teresa McDowell and I represent the citizens.
Emma Stratton. I am here representing Portsmouth Historical Society.
And Linnea Grimm, I'm here representing Strawberry Bank Museum.
Very nice to meet all of you officially.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What's your last name?
All right. Oh, do you want to do minutes? first?
Yeah, minutes. So if I could have a motion to approve the June 16th minutes.
So move.
And second,
Second.
Jason. Any discussion needed? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Nope. All right, they pass.
All right, great. So we're delighted to have with us today Nate and Hope from the Chamber. We particularly asked them to come and speak to us because, as I think we've discussed in this group, the focus of street life this year is going to be down at Behenko Park and talk about city's arts and culture. So we wanted to invite you all here to talk to us about arts and culture more broadly, but specifically also what the plan is with street life this year. And as I still think of us as a relatively new commission, what we can do to support your work and how we can work together. So with that, you guys can stay seated there. You can also come up to the front of the table,
Front of the.
join us.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Sorry to turn our backs to you, Catherine. There.
No problem.
Hi, folks. My name's Nate. I'm the vice president. Chamber, work in a variety of areas, membership, development, tourism maps, graphics, and other duties as assigned. A lot of familiar faces around the room. Great to see you. Some new faces. Hello.
Hi, everybody. I'm Hope Anderson. I'm the tourism manager at the Chamber. I've been there for a little bit over a year now. I deal with all things tourism, holding monthly meetings with our local tourism stakeholders, and I also manage our visitor center and kiosk in Market Square, along with a lot of other things, just like Nate.
So we're happy to be here. So I guess we'll start a little bit with street life, and we've got some other things to sort of cover here as well. So Street Life is the Chamber's big annual event. It's been going on since I think roughly around 2012. And I always kind of go into this, what is Street Life? Street Life got started where, as I understand it, some of the members and the people on the committee were tired of the standard hotel ballroom banquet event. No offense to our hotel friends and banquets, they are wonderful, but I think people were looking for something different. And as I understand it, that was around the time where you started seeing a lot of these viral moments on Instagram with the big long tables out in the middle of fields and places like that. And somebody's idea was to do that in a street. From there, somehow they got to Street Life, and it is stuck ever since. And so we have done that in a variety of places throughout town. There's only been one location repeated, which was the original location on Pleasant Street. Sort of was hit a third time when there was the cocktail area for Street Life 400, but each year we've been able to bounce it around to different locations to highlight something different in the community. So last year we were actually at a complete different spot. We were at an airplane hangar over at Pease Tradeport celebrating the Tradeport. Thank you. It is a neat spot. And also we had to do something completely different from Street Life 400. Actually, one of my first times in this room was in meetings about planning Street Life 400 right here. That was the big one right down Congress Street, 900 people. It is not usually a 900-person event. It is usually much more in the 300 to 400 range, and that's kind of the range we're returning to. Other areas that we have been, we were inside once because it is a summer event and it's often quite warm. We were inside Jimmy's the summer that it opened. We have been out in the West End in PMAX parking lot. We have been over by the Arch at the Music Hall, Four Tree Island, around the time they were doing Memorial Bridge, the North End when 3S was being built. So we've kind of bumped around, and actually art has kind of come in and out of every one of those in addition to having performers. And so this year we will be at Bohenko Gateway Park, home of a lot of great public art, and hopefully, more in the future. It's been really exciting. And I think, judging by a lot of conversations that I've had with members, I think it's going to be a great way to also continue to raise the bar of awareness of Bohenko Gateway Park. Because we'll mention that, and some people go, "Where?" I say, it is the Gateway Park on Market Street on your way into town near the submarine. You've seen the little pavilion and the Endeavor, and then they're like, "Oh, that place." So, if anything, there's going to be about 150 to 200 people that will much be more acutely aware of the name of the location, and we'll be spending, a whole evening there and seeing some of the great work. So we're excited about this. There's a lot of folks that are getting involved in the artistic planning of it. Ben is leading those efforts, and we're doing our best to pinch hit for him here. But I understand he's got an art committee involved with it. Arts and Reach is part of that. We are going to be working to have an actual art project that people are going to work on there. My understanding is sort of a cross stitch thing, not like what my late mother used to do with the needlepoint, but more like people can participate with markers and make X's. And it's going to be a nice Portsmouth themed piece of art that will then live at the chamber in our conference room. So we're pretty excited about that. As you're familiar, it's a very serpentine pathway. So the table will go throughout there, which will allow us to have different music playing throughout other locations. We're thinking we might get away with 4 spots, which will be pretty cool. So that'll be another way to involve it. And I think also some photo ops with some of the existing art as well. So those are some ways that we're getting art involved with street life. Oh, and then I believe there are also other plans to have the centerpieces be also related to Pete's of Artists. I haven't heard the latest part of that, but I do know that is part of the committee's focus. And I know Ben has been also working with the Public Art Review Committee on, are there ways that holding this large event there can be beneficial to that group and their works and any other future plans there. That's about all I've got on that one, because I was away last week and did I miss anything on that?
No, yeah, I think you pretty much covered it. I just want to share one note that I wrote down is that we chose Bohenko Park very intentionally, not just as a beautiful space, but as the symbol of the growing public art and a critical entry point into the city. So I think that was really important for the team to highlight that. Like Nate said, last year, we kind of celebrated the success of the trade port. And I think it's such a pivotal time right now to celebrate the arts and success. So I think it was very intentional.
And that was before a lot of things have moved in Concord and Washington. We actually settled on this location.
Like last summer.
It in the fall.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
when we first, and I'll be honest, I was on team no originally, having gone by it several times.
Wow.
It's an idea that we had thought of a few times, but I think many people had not walked through it. And so once I actually walked over there and saw the layout, I was very quickly on to team yes. But in my head, because I had driven by many times and seen sort of establishing trees, I had thought that putting an event like this would actually get in the way of that park's long-term success. That was kind of why. And then I realized there's actually plenty of space there and it's going to be pretty perfect. So we're excited with that. So there's some other things that I wanted to go over that we have also been involved in as an organization. Oh, please.
The street life.
Yeah.
The focus of the event is the dinner, of course,
Yes.
but the dinner's kind of pricey. So is there other stuff going on for participants who aren't necessarily coming to the dinner? Or is there any consideration for involving people who can't afford the price of the dinner?
Sure. Thank you very much for kind of reminding me to give more info on what Street Life is. So Street Life is the Chamber's biggest annual fundraiser. So that is one of the main elements of it. And yes, the tickets are They are pricey. It is the priciest event that we do all year. Some years we've been able to have ways around that. When we did Street Life 400 right down Congress Street, really making a much larger impact on the community. We actually did have it built in that about 10% of the tickets were actually given away to community leaders and nonprofit spaces and in other areas. That is not something we're structurally able to build in every year, although a lot of our sponsors are given a certain allotment of tickets, and many of them choose to bring folks that they support. So I think that's my broader answer to sort of say no to, another price option. It's just not the way the event is built. And generally the event is not so much a public event. It is generally for members or guests of the organization as it is a fundraising activity.
I just wanted to let everyone here know who's not been following the Public Art Review Committee that they just approved another sculpture for Bohinco Gateway Park, and they're starting their fundraising for that next sculptural piece. So they're continuing to work on this park as an entry point for public art. In the city, and the city council approved them, allowing them to move forward with that piece. So
Great to know, because the latest thing I knew on that was part of the conversations Ben has been having with them is there anything that would be important for you to announce at this event? Whether that is something is coming, or we are this close for something to coming, or we're about to kick off a thing. So that is one of those options for collaboration that we're excited about. So thank you.
I just had a quick one, because I know you have other things besides Street Life, but please. And I think I know the answer based on some of the other locations you shared, but what typically goes into choosing the location?
Sure. Yeah, that's great. What goes into choosing the location is, first of all, is that it's a place that we can put 300 to 400 people and not create too much of a disturbance anywhere else. So that's one of the reasons why Pleasant Street, I think, was originally used, because it's an easy shutdown. That's why it was used, I think, a second time. So some of it is, where can we do it? And then what is unique about that place and different from what we've done, especially in the recent past. So that that's kind of what Hope was saying, is it is an establishing park. It is something that is different from what we've highlighted. So those are some of the things that go into it. And then not only like, can we fit the people there, but can we fit the people there in a way where it can also be meaningful? And so I think with meandering it through, that allows us to sort of play with the setup of the event in ways that we don't always get to do.
I'll just say, it is basically geared towards celebrating the business and the economic development and tourism. So that's really what its intent is. And then to be able to bring in some of these other aspects, whether it's an anniversary or public art, is great to be flexible.
One other thing before I go over you is, for the Street Life 400th year, it also doubled as our annual awards. So that was also when we would recognize Business of the Year, large business of the year, small business of the year, volunteer of the year, collaborator of the year. There's usually a special recognition, and we've recently added nonprofit of the year to our group of awards. But in the year we did the 400th, it didn't seem right to be celebrating 400 years of history and 1 year's achievements at the same time. And we took that opportunity to separate those two functions. And so with that, it's, every Street Life is still developing a little bit since that change. But I will say it has made for a much better recognition of those recipients, because I'm not sure if anyone has been to a Street Life where we've had awards. A lot of people are just excited to be there, celebrate, have a good time. And unfortunately, some of the people being recognized don't get the recognition that they truly deserve. Although I am told that the year we were inside the music hall was the one exception, because the societal conditioning of being in a theater space actually got people to go, oh, right now I do this. And then when we go back outside, we can chit chat.
So 2 suggestions. One, I love that this park is becoming more and more the gateway of the city and really featuring more and more artist work. I think the challenge with that park, it's beautiful, but parking. So I'm just wondering, is there any collaborative opportunity beyond this event? Because I'm sure you've thought about that for the Street Life. But just where there's more opportunities for parking, whether it's collaboration with the church right there, or it's with the Albacore, the submarine spot. They seem to have some reasonable amount of parking. So that.
So actually for that,
They have that like ongoing, because this is gonna be more.
I know for this event they are.
yes, for this
Yeah,
event, we
I'm thinking more longer term and, a place where people are gonna wanna go more and more to see the art. So that would just be one suggestion. And then the other thing with regards to the chamber, because I've looked at your organization as well as an individual artist, is there a category that you could introduce that would be sufficient for individual artists?
We actually have two categories that I think might be sufficient. If not, I welcome your feedback. The first is we have had an individual category for many years. It is our lowest priced membership, and that is designed for folks to be listed just as their name. And so it's largely geared towards artists who trade on their own name, or retired folks who want to stay active with us, or occasionally in some situations, we may have a very active individual whose company has decided that they no longer want to be part of our organization, but we have some people from that group that would like to continue. So that's the individual level. And then we recently, in the last, I think, 4-ish years, introduced what we're calling a sole proprietor membership, which is priced between our general business membership and that individual, which allows those folks to operate with an assumed name like a regular business while saving significantly compared to the larger, usually brick and mortar businesses.
Yeah, so I'll speak as somebody who owns my own business and as a single artist, it's a lot to join all these members. It's expensive. So if that's something that can be considered, and maybe again, if you're going more towards the arts, which I know you've been incredibly supportive of that, just something to consider. Could there be perhaps a lower fee? Could there be more greater benefits for individual artists, just to kind of open that up as a possibility? I think that would be great. And I think a challenge is how do artists get the word out about what they do, what they make? There's not a lot of opportunities outside of social media from a marketing standpoint. So again, just trying to put Portsmouth on the map and doing things differently and innovative in a way that really supports artists, I think would be much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Counselor.
I was just gonna answer your parking question.
Yeah.
So I had this conversation with the planning department about a year ago about parking for Bohinco Gateway Park, because Public Art Review Committee wants to make sure it's accessible for
Mhm.
people. And the city does own some property, actually across the street adjacent to the church parking area. That planning takes a long time. So what would happen is that if they identify it as a priority, creating parking there, then that would go to the CIP budget, and it would be several years out. And it would get prioritized as far as, which projects are most important in the next few years. And then ultimately would come to fruition at some point. But it really, there's so many projects currently in the works that it's probably not going to be a priority in the immediate term. But they're aware, everybody's aware that we need to probably
Maybe if the
additional
church put up signs saying, during these hours, of course, but off hours, it would be open to.
They're doing construction.
Yeah.
The other,
You're building.
They're
that
building.
spot, yes, about half that parking lot.
So that housing thing.
Yeah, actually,
Oh, that's good.
so that was one of the things
That's okay.
that came up when we were starting to plan. I was like, oh yeah, we'll talk to the church. I'm sure we can make something work out. And then fences started going up. We're like, okay, help. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
figure that out.
okay.
But thank you. Actually, unless there's any questions, oh, please.
I just wanted to point out that one of the perks that the chamber offers to nonprofits is one free email
Yeah.
blast a year,
Yes.
which used strategically is a very valuable thing. It just could be something to consider for an individual artist
Mhm.
members or
Mhm.
Thank you. I was actually just gonna say, but
no, go.
unless there was anything else on street life, I'd be happy to actually hit some of these points with some other things that we have.
I have one really quick street life item, which I talked with Ben at the end of the chamber board meeting.
Great.
And he was open, I'll keep talking with him about like if Emma and I or any representative from this group was there, going with the public review art committee kind of up and at least, saying a few words about who we are. And so he was open to that and wanted to throw it out to this group as well, as a way of at Street Life.
Yeah.
Just letting people know we exist.
Sure, that sounds great. Anything else on street life or kind of pivot? Sorry, rain date is the next day.
Okay.
Yes,
What is the date for it?
is Wednesday, August 13th. Rain date would be the 14th, the next day.
I actually have another small thing, because we just held our communications meeting right before this, and we touched on covering street life. since we've had a few articles that have highlighted us and like trying to keep the momentum up. We didn't get super far into discussing what that would look like, but I figured since we're all right here, now's the right time to bring it up, but I won't be attending. So I don't know, like, if anyone here is and wants to either write something up about it or if that's interesting, or maybe you're already doing that. But I think that was just something we lightly discussed, so figured.
I'll definitely be there.
Okay,
because I'm
perfect,
a-
yeah.
I'm a-
And then the other thing I was thinking was like any pictures that come out of it, like I
Yeah.
don't wanna pressure you to like
Yeah.
go and take pictures of the whole event, but if there's any that we could share as part of like the city communications section.
Well, we'll have photographers present like we always do, and I'm sure we'd be happy to work together.
Which will
on
be
it.
much better pictures.
Why I don't do that, we bring it, yes. Well, excellent. This is a great opportunity for me to kind of pivot back a little bit more, just into us as an organization, some things that we do involving art. So, for example, we are a membership organization, currently at our peak of membership, historically, which is really exciting. We're at about 830 members, which is great, especially considering, when, you know, we were coming out of 2020 and into 2021, we were down around 640. So we've been very excited with that growth, sustained over many years and hope to continue. Those members range in size from some of the largest employers like your Lonzas, your hospitals, all the way down in size, of course, only to very small nonprofits with no full-time staff and yes, individuals. We have a lot of actually nonprofits, many of them art related, and about 130 of our members are actually in that nonprofit space, which is, I think, actually quite unique for an organization like ours. And actually previously, our board was actually led by some nonprofit arts leaders, which is, I think, is exceptionally rare for a chamber of commerce, which was something we were very proud of. And it's actually informed a lot of what we do. We've definitely learned a lot about the importance of not only working with artists, but paying artists. And that is something that we actually chime in professionally to other organizations as well. So, but we do have many different types of art organizations. And yes, one of the benefits for our nonprofit members is special access to eBlast, and additional eBlasts are at a lower rate. And so I'll take that recommendation back. Thank you very much for that. We've worked with a lot of different groups in town when it comes to different art related things. One of the things was when the Americans for the Arts study came through, you know, helping to raise awareness of that, but also helping to host some meetings where that information came out. I believe there was a public session over at Seacoast Rep, and there was a more in-depth work session over at, I believe, 3S Art Space. That was a little bit more for the arts community, I believe. I was at the Rep one, so I'm not entirely sure on that. And also, Art Round Town is an event that we can't take credit for. That's been going on for a very long time, long before we were involved. But that's something that largely Hope and Ben have stepped into to help organize that. I'm sure probably no one in this group needs an introduction to Art Round Town. But we've helped to step into the marketing space. I've actually brought in some sponsorships to bring in new rack cards and things like that. And as we're hopefully continuing to work with that program, we'll see some more there. We get asked to participate in different planning sessions from time to time, whether that's Vaughan Mall or Market Square program. And one of the things that we view our role in doing is also speaking up for the arts if there's not somebody in that space doing it. Thankfully, being Portsmouth, there's often folks doing that, but if not, that's a role that we're happy to take on as well. As Hope has mentioned, we do a lot of work in tourism space, and one thing that we did do this year is we actually switched in our maps, and I should have brought some. I didn't, but I think there's actually some in the rack in the lobby. This year on the map, instead of having just photo op locations mapped out for our visitors, we actually switched that to a public art marker. And in there's a QR code bringing them to the public art view inventory document, actually to the page that the document lives on, so that when it changes, it continues to work. So that's a way to continue to highlight that in our community as well. Do you want to talk about some of the cultural hub bits, so they don't have to listen to me the whole time?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I will remember that.
Thanks, John. So we definitely promote Portsmouth as a cultural hub in the Seacoast. So we run a tourism-based website. It's called goportsmouth.com. And throughout that website, we highlight a lot of different ways that you can be involved in the arts with Portsmouth, whether that's some of the public art that we have around town or highlighting art around town right on the main page or maintaining a calendar with different shows and things going on. We do that through the website. And then we also do mail out the maps and harbor guide to folks who are interested in Portsmouth. And we also include a little blurb and that kind of highlighting some of the special things about Portsmouth, whether that be the art scene, the music scene, the theater scene. There's really so much to do. So we'll send that out to folks and then get the information that way. And I think you know, for me, people can just rely on me as the tourism manager to help spread that word. And when they have something going on, making sure that I'm highlighting that to the community and also our members so they stay informed about what's going on. Yeah, with different tourism stakeholders.
Then just one other thing, I guess it's a little bit of a tease for right now. So one of the things that I think if everything lines up, we will be announcing a bit more of at Street Life is we are working with many of the music venues in town to work on a music festival might be the word, weekend, still kind of in the works. We're actually working with a local design company on the branding for this, but basically one of the things that we try to do is market Portsmouth year round. You know, this group knows that Portsmouth is not one of those communities that shuts down in the winter. And I think for a lot of people know that, but maybe not as many as they should. And so one of the things that we are planning is a big weekend in March. I think it's the first weekend of March, Thursday through Sunday. And the goal there is to basically flood the city with music and market this to a wide range of places in a driving radius, but also hopefully in an overnight radius and a make a weekend out of it radius. And so the goal will be to have music in large venues and then from there grow it into where else can we put it? It just so happens that we will have an art around town during that weekend. Can we get some music in the galleries as well to keep that going so that folks that might not have come for visual art but came for music will see more music, follow that and find some other things like that. Our role is similar to the role we play with Art Around Town, with Local Love and with Restaurant Week, where all of our different partners in this will participate in the way that makes sense for them and their business model and their vision. But we will help unify it with the marketing and drive that. So we're not in there telling Jimmy's in the music hall what to do. They know what to do. We're helping we're helping broadcast their message, just like during Restaurant Week. We're not telling John what to do at Kava. He wouldn't listen anyway. But you know, our members know their business, so we're here to help spread that message wide. So hopefully we'll have more to share on that soon.
Thank you.
Quick thing, just because I think Ben was actually one of the first people that talked with us when this group started over a year ago now. And since then, we've been grappling with our role of, you know, what can we do? And largely advocacy is the biggest thing we can do. So I think heralding all the good work you're doing and saying thank you for all the good work you're doing is a big part of, I mean, I'm grateful because I keep learning new things that you guys do and it's awesome. Also streamlining messaging and collaborating on messaging and like if it's going to be posted in one place or two places or, you know, that kind of thing. So I think just knowing more about it so that when we have something, we can come to you and say, hey, is this something that we should be helping each other with?
That would be great. We'd love to do that. A lot of what we actually try to do is, you know, unless it's our event or an event that we've kind of taken that middle ground on being the point of contact for, we would much rather amplify our members or our collaborators' message. I always tell new members, like, the reason why we do this, and, you know, our first thing is, you know, hey, can you share this in your newsletters? Yes. Can you log this into our system like this first? It's not because we don't want to do the work. It's because on there, we want to be able to refer the public or anyone that sees it from us to those people so that they get the right question. Because the last thing we want is for, you know, one of us to be on vacation or away or sick and somebody that really wants to get involved to not get the info because they're waiting on hearing back from the chamber as opposed to the person that's putting it on. So probably going direct to Jen is the best, but if we kind of need to strategize that some more, I'm sure Ben, Hope, or I are happy to help there.
I'd just like to amplify that Hope hosts
Oh, yeah.
Let's Talk Tourism and Let's Talk Shop And I think anybody can go to those.
Yeah, anybody can
Um,
come. Yeah, you don't.
It's once a month and I've been going to them regularly and it's just a great way to get in a room with a dozen retailers or a dozen folks related to tourism and all this sharing of ideas. And that's where Local Love came from and a few other things. So a lot of great things are happening, a lot of ways to kind of understand the environment and where you all can plug into that and leverage it and make connections.
When is the next event?
So Let's Talk Tourism is the first Wednesday of every month at 8:30 at the Chamber. There's also a Zoom option as well. And then Talking Shop is the second Wednesday of the month, also at 8:30. Anybody's welcome to come. So, if you were thinking about becoming a member or just want to attend these meetings, you're absolutely welcome to. And like Sean said, I think it's a great opportunity to meet other folks where, in the same
And
area.
what's going on, like what
I
all
was gonna
around.
actually bring this up too. I never make the meetings because I don't do anything at 8:30. But I love
I wish I
your
did.
notes.
Oh, thank you.
Your notes,
you.
because she takes notes of everything that went on and what people said and
Right.
they're very, very useful.
Thank you.
Register, don't go.
Yeah.
Read the notes.
Yeah, read the notes. Interesting, even getting on the email list, please reach out to me. Will my information be available in your guys' minutes or
Yeah, we
anything?
can make it available. Sean can.
Or Sean, yeah, Sean, if you want to connect, I'm happy to add you to my list. And if you don't want to get them anymore, let me know. And
Yeah.
I'll take you off. Yeah.
Just one other idea as I'm listening to all this. So when we did, I think we put out like 900 surveys for the cultural plan out to commuters and tourists and certainly residents and artists and everything above. But one thing that was like an aha is it was like 90% or 95% of people come to Portsmouth just for the day. And I was like, wow, okay, so how can we all think around that? And I wonder related to the arts. Okay, so you only have a day to come to Portsmouth. Here are things that you could be thinking about doing relative to the arts. Go
Mhm.
see this, see, go to Bohinco, go
Yeah.
take a class, go see a Strawberry Bank. Like, is there any thought to that, knowing that so many people are really coming here just for the day and connecting that to the arts?
Okay, so that's a great point. I know we do have, which I should have mentioned, we have different itineraries on Go Portsmouth, and one of them is the arts and culture itinerary, which highlights a lot of the different spots. It doesn't say, oh, go here at 8 o'clock and then here at 9, it'll take you an
Yeah,
hour, but it
yeah.
kind of highlights the different opportunities that you have within the
Yeah,
city. But that
yeah.
would be interesting to put something together for that day tripper who
Yeah.
wants to learn about art, culture, and history throughout the
Yeah,
city.
just like
So-
these are the things that are doable in a day and you can see all these things. And then I'm also thinking with the cruise line, I know that that's still pretty limited, but you've got 100 passengers coming off and they're only here for what, 6, 8 hours, maybe even less?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do to hit the arts during your visit to
Yeah,
Portsmouth?
yeah, it's a
So,
great idea.
yeah,
And
it's
we're in
interesting.
contact with those folks too.
Good,
So
okay,
yeah, I'd be
awesome.
happy to shoot
Yeah.
over a message to them and see kind of how they're pitching Portsmouth, if they put together itineraries for them. I think that's
Okay.
something that we could help us.
And as somebody who covers the visitor center at least once a week, my usual method of it is when people come in, it's very often, yeah, I've got half a day. What should I see? My first
Mhm.
question is, what do you like to see? Because from there, and honestly, don't tell Ben, even if they're not members, but they tell me, I want this, that's where I'm sending them. I want to make sure they have a good time in our city. And so there's definitely, whether it's the history, whether it's the galleries, whether it's shopping, there's something it's a conversational bit that I know that I like to practice. And I'm sure the visitors assistants, the market and the kiosk do the same.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to keep, I was just thinking, Karen, that your comment reminded me because we had a conversation a few meetings ago. And I think I was the one who was supposed to come talk to you guys and I was out of commission for a few months, but about the idea of corporate training and offering arts opportunities, not just for the tour, cruises, sorry, not just for the cruises, but for people looking for other activities that, when they have conferences here.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Their employees could do.
Yes.
And of offering, I know there's like the escape rooms and things like that, but also arts opportunities. They could go do a bonding thing over a pottery class, or we host a lot of, corporate training things at our space using theater, or a concert or something. So just working out something like that with you all, that was as far as I think we
Yes,
got in our
yeah.
planning, and I apologize, I never followed through, but it just reminded me.
That would be something we'd be open to. We have in the past, we actually can use that Go Portsmouth platform to do a variety of these things. The Primex conference about a couple of years ago was a good example where we actually worked with them around their windows of free time to let them know what nearby to where they were was available. So absolutely, we can. work
Yeah,
on
and I
things like that.
think we kind of do that without trying, and maybe we can a little more, but like the IEPP reached out to
Yep.
us. They recently had a conference here, and another company last year whose name is escaping me, they'll reach out, because, you know, Portsmouth doesn't exactly have a destination marketing office, so we kind of act as the DMO for them. So I think a lot of people find us and then reach out to us and say,
And
what can we do?
The other thing that we do, and then I'll see you, Councilor Cook, is sometimes we're that step in between where we actually encourage people to not ask certain questions. I can remember a specific time where a conference coming to town wanted me to help get a bunch of vendors to come sit in the hallway between meetings to sell their wares and pay for the privilege of doing that. And I said, well, you're at the Sheraton, and one street over, a bunch of places that already fit this. So if you're talking this through, you want me to ask one of our members to close their shop for the day, to then pay to move stuff across the street, to then sit there, and maybe somebody who's traveling from XYZ state or country will want to buy a thing to bring it back. And they're like, okay, like, so I don't think that's the best thing. You're welcome to do that, but I basically said, I'm not going to ask our businesses to do that. So sometimes we can help in some of those ways too.
I have two things. In the same vein of providing services for people coming for conferences, but also providing potentially training for small organizations, small arts nonprofits, but also individual artists on things around HR and, you know, some of the things at ADA accessibility, different things that we've identified in the cultural plan, a need for accessibility, a need for support for artists around things like accounting and finance, and, you know, some of these trainings that the city doesn't necessarily offer, but it would be helpful. I know you probably have in the past offered some of this to membership, but maybe marketing these specifically to artists and small arts organizations that need that kind of support. That's
So recently we had the New Hampshire, and it's not arts, but we had the New Hampshire Retail Association come and present at one of our talking shop meetings, and they're offering a staffing marketing type of course. I don't know exactly what it is. I should have read about it a little more.
Frontline customer service.
Thank you, Sean.
I was there.
Yeah. Customer service. So that I'd be happy to like see what else they can do. And it might not be with the New Hampshire Retail Association, but maybe another business like that would want to come in. They're offering it free of charge to those small businesses in town. They don't have to be members.
That
So
was a grant.
yeah,
The
yeah. they
chamber
got a
has a
grant.
whole educational
Yeah,
suite.
and
We do,
and then
yes,
you can-
we do some education programs largely put on by our members, and certainly exploring ways to broaden that is certainly a conversation we can have, absolutely.
if it's something that we can help you in sharing with the arts community, where they need potentially these supports. I
Did
think
you say
that's-
that there's a list already identified of
We have
potential
a
topics?
list of, no,
Oh.
we had during the cultural planning process, we identified this as a potential need for training
Yeah.
in certain areas. And it's something that we would like to kind of consider down the road. So so I think that that would be a potential partnership opportunity with the Arts and Cultural Commission. And the other thing I have for you is the reason that I got involved with the arts at the city of Portsmouth when I was first running for council was because my hometown has an event that you're kind of describing
Okay,
called the Smoke Hill River Festival. And it is 3 stages of live music for 3 days and juried art and also juried crafts. And so it is a huge festival. It brings in over 50,000 people
yeah,
from surrounding states that come just for this arts festival. And so I always thought Portsmouth has so much going on in the arts. Why don't we have a big festival like this? And so I would be happy to help and connect you with people who run that kind of that festival. It's a partnership between their arts commission, the city, the chamber.
Yeah.
And it's evolved over time.
that's great. We'd always love to hear more. Yeah, we're very, there's actually been pleasantly surprised as we've been talking about this. Some people have been bringing up things that I wouldn't dream of asking about until year 2 or 3, which is really exciting, and them offering to do it. So that's really great. But right now, we're very much in the let's everybody get through it, find a way that makes it work, learn some lessons hopefully quickly, before we then get into that bigger kind of golden ticket model of festivals, et cetera. Yeah, thank you.
Just want to tag on one more idea that Jen was saying is from a timing perspective in terms of when to maybe bring corporate teams together to do some sort of a team building event. I would say before the holidays, so people are thinking about this for the holidays, because a lot of companies are small, big, medium. I want to do something for my team, I want to bring them together. Other than just going out and eating is great, but maybe making something or learning something would be awesome. And my second other quick idea, because I think timing is of the essence, and I believe wholeheartedly, so whether it's my dog walker, it's my hairdresser, I always get them gift certificates to art venues in Portsmouth. So again, rather than sticking cash in an envelope, why not get a gift certificate to the rep, the Historic Society? And if we put that in people's minds, especially those people that are coming for the day, like I'd rather get my whoever is helping to support me, something related to the arts that's gonna bring them to Portsmouth. So again, I think we have to probably be thinking about that in the fall, if, we wanna hit the mark for the holidays.
So I will say, you may have seen it in the paper recently, Ben has launched an initiative called Locals Belong Here. I get the name right? Okay. And one of those things that was identified as a talking point, a discovery point, it's not a fast thing, but it is something we're working on for longer term, is Portsmouth has been without sort of a centralized gift card option since Portsmouth a la carte went out several years ago. And part of that is conversations around that. And since that program has sunsetted, that has been a lot of what we've encouraged, whether that is an arts venue, whether that is a restaurant, but just driving them to their local businesses directly. It's great. Yeah.
On the topic of expanding the suite of educational opportunities, at some point is to go from the general to the specific, because we're sitting here talking about it in general terms. But I think, an outreach to the arts community, the individual artists, as to what they need. To get from the general to the specific, I think this organization could help you with that.
Yeah.
More than we can do right now. Several things have been mentioned, from accounting to marketing and things like that. I know when I was starting out, I was going to marketing classes and stuff like that. Anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you.
And I think just being mindful of
Yeah, of
time,
course.
we want to say thank you so much for your time. I want to do a quick, because I had jotted down 2 things to do, quick plug for. You just got in the Locals Belong Here, but Local Love, we've mentioned a few times, is the third Thursday. I was like, I know it's a Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's retail spaces throughout Portsmouth, some offering discounts.
Yeah, 32 different retail shops right now. We have 2 months left for our summer passport program. If you visit 10 shops and turn in your passport, you get entered to win one of 5 gift baskets valued at over $300. No purchase necessary at the stores, but that is going on all year. Like Nate said, we're working really hard to make Portsmouth a year-round destination. So we're really happy with the outcome of Local Love so far. Yeah, thank you, Leah.
All right,
Thanks
thank you both so much.
Yeah.
I think we'll move into work group reports. And is there a work group who would like to go first?
So we just met before this meeting, we kind of talked about the street life thing really briefly, but sort of that whole conversation came out of, I already started to mention it, like we've had 2 really great coverage stories in the Portsmouth Herald. And I think the point is we should keep the momentum up, whether what is that was kind of like what we started to get into. So the street life was one thing that's more recent. And then Jen had this wonderful idea that we kind of started to flesh out, was like maybe a series that we could post monthly. Feels like it seems realistic for us, but how did art change your life? And so then what we were thinking was like starting with the people in this room, because at least it's easy and we're all accessible here, but then maybe opening it up to general public, not just artists, not just arts institutions, but like regular everyday people that maybe aren't artists. So we were kind of thinking of making it a short video series. We talked about like hosting it at the library, and then just having people like tell their stories. But just a good way to like what I was saying is like we should balance not overdoing it on the portrait page. Like we don't want to be constantly, flooding it, but what is the right amount and what can we kind of realistically do? But that was just one idea. I'm definitely open to more, but yeah, I think that was most of it. And then we also just touched on the banner program, like chugging along. It's looking good so far. It's going into
Okay.
legal's hands. So we were just talking about like different avenues where, smaller orgs could share banners, or maybe there's multiple on one street or things like that, or zoning, stuff like that. So we were just kind of talking about what does the logistics of that look like when that program is in place, and what are we gonna need to provide as the commission? So, yeah.
Can I just comment on your series thing with the stories? I think it's awesome, and I think the library might get pretty excited about partnering on that.
And guess where we're meeting?
And they have a
next week?
gazillion people on their newsletter. I mean, that's just a way to really get to all the different age groups and
Yep.
right? They're just so busy over there. It's shocking to me. Not shocking. It's amazing to me.
Exciting.
And you say a story and a series, and next thing you know, it's happening on a regular basis and people are already convening there.
And I think that's a great point. That is kind of our goal, because I feel like we've gotten 2 written pieces out, those have hit on the written side, but I'm like wondering now, what can we do to increase that presence in like a new and different way? And I do think video media is like, obviously, it's like everything. So when it comes to promoting ourselves, and if we're staying in this, like, we don't have a budget, but we want to promote and advocate for the arts, like, this is a great way to get those stories out there.
And I think one of the big things that we keep coming back to is broadening the relevancy of arts and culture, because again, we kind of talked about this earlier. You say those 2 words and 80% of the population kind of tunes out, 20% says, hey, I'm interested. That means something to me. I think, we collectively, it would be awesome to think, and it's a slow build for sure, but how do we help broaden the definition of what falls under that in arts and culture? And we talked about somebody who collects cars or ties flies for fly fishing. This idea, expanding the idea of what art is. And that's how you bring more people under the tent. It's like, well, maybe I am an artist. Awaking and tapping into it. So through the use of storytelling. Somebody who's kind of, yes, a painter, but then somebody who does tie flies. And, if they're into it, there's the creativity, there's the level of understanding that, when they share that story, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to the layperson who's like, well, maybe that is art, and broadening the definition. So I think that inclusiveness builds relevancy for this commission and continues to shine a spotlight on then you start that person maybe that has blinders, and we help take those blinders off so they see all of the art in this community happening around them, and their interpretation of what is art continues to increase.
With the ultimate goal of bringing attention to the fact that we no longer have an arts council on our state.
Yeah.
One person.
We have amazing people doing like restoration work on antique homes and antique buildings.
yeah.
They're real artists, and they probably didn't think of themselves when they were going into the trades that they were an artist initially, and then over time that evolved.